So we don't have fire. We don't have, million head herds of buffalo anymore. What we have is electric fencing and four-wheel drive portable porkers. Okay? And so we're using the pigs as a disturbance factor to move ecological succession forward. Notice the infrastructure. All the infrastructure could go in a wheelbarrow. It's an energizer, a battery, electric fence, a little waterer, the cell feeder. That's it. There's no concrete, there's no fans, there's no electricity, there's no manure lagoons, no slurry pumps. Are you with me? This is a low capital, nook and cranny deal. You can put this on the edge of any little townhouse or development or whatever, and we're here with all, and there's no smell. And I hope you've appreciated as we've gone through all these animals this morning. This could be done in suburbia. It makes a beautiful pastoral landscape. All right? And so the pigs are moved paddock to paddock, just like the cows, not as frequently, but about every 5 to 10 days, using electric fence as a containment mechanism. There's one physical gate right up here. Each paddock has has an opening, and we have just a 6-foot physical gate that we move from paddock to paddock as the pigs go, so we don't ask the pigs to go across electric fence. Electric fence, pigs are so amenable and trainable to electric fence that they won't go over it when you take the fence down, okay? So we have a 6-foot physical spot in each paddock so that we can move a little board gate, okay, from paddock to paddock as the pigs go. So there's a physical place, makes it easy to move the pigs. Right, that right there was worth the day for those of you trying to do pigs. The pigs, what's amazing here is that the pigs will eat up to 45% of their diet off of grass, off of vegetation. And what we're finding is that we save anywhere from $300 to $500 per acre in feed costs running the pigs. So we now have these acorn finishing glens all over the mountain up there, roughly 3 to 5 acre glens. So we have pig pastures that are, we give them half-acre paddocks, and every time they eat 2 tons of feed, they move on to the next paddock. That becomes our constant. If you give them more than that, if you give too much disturbance, the paddock turns into weeds. If you don't give enough disturbance, it goes to brambles, early successional forest. So there's a sweet spot of disturbance to freeze frame the ecology into the kind of vegetation that is pig friendly. All right? And we've done both. We've done both too much disturbance and not enough disturbance. That's why I know that there's this sweet spot. And so what we found is the 2-ton feeder on a half-acre for us here, and for you in your climate it might be different. But for us, that 2 tons per half-acre is just the right amount of disturbance. So if the 50 head group of pigs is 100 pounds, their disturbance to eat the time of access to that paddock, determined by that 2 tons of feed in the cell feeder, 10 days of impaction from 50 100-pound pigs is the same as 5 days of impaction from 50 200-pound pigs. Did you follow that? Yep. Okay. The reason that I'm belaboring it is because you, me, none of us is honest enough to really to do the disturbance sequence the way it's supposed to be. It's too easy to say, I don't feel like moving the pigs. Let's just take another barrel of feed. Next thing you know, they're there too long, okay? So what keeps us honest is that cell feeder. When that thing is empty, whether it's raining, not raining, whether it's late in the day, whether we're tired or not, the pigs go to the next paddock. That creates that, so that every single time the pigs are in there, there's exactly the same amount of disturbance factor every time. That keeps us honest to the ecology. Okay? All right. So when the pigs get done in the pig pastures, then they come into these acorn finishing glens, and we use just nylon rope tied around the trees and just zigzag it around. We can encircle 5 acres real easy. We only come to them once or twice a year, the pig pastures, 3 times a year through the acorn glens. just once or twice a year through. The pig pastures are more land intensive. This is more land extensive. But at $300 to $500 in feed savings per acre, that's it's a huge cash advantage. You know, I have a heart for forestry. I love trees. I love forestry. All the interns will tell you that my favorite tool is the chainsaw. I mean, I was like born with a chainsaw. I love chainsaw. Everywhere I look, I want a chainsaw. You know, it's just such a wonderful thing. And the problem is that foresters, when they're trying to sell good silvicultural stewardship to people, to landowners, only thing that they can sell is timber. It's the only thing they can sell. Well, if you're selling timber wholesale on the stumpage, you know, it's going to be like a once a generation sale, and you might make enough to pay all the taxes for those 40 years from that one sale. Okay, it's really just a labor of love. Okay? It's not a moneymaker. But if you can get $300 to $500 per acre per year from pigs, now you can incentivize good forest stewardship. So if you look in there, you notice we've cleaned out all the junk. We've left the good stems. We're actually, because the pig program incentivizes silvicultural stewardship, we're able to grow the next forest faster and more healthy than we could a non-weeded forest that didn't justify the weeding because there was no incentive to weed. So suddenly, when this paradigm, you know, when this model hit us, suddenly we realized those 400 acres of forest up there are worth $200,000 in saved feed costs. Wow. That's an incentive. Okay? Suddenly, what becomes just something we own because we love it and it's good and blah, 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 becomes actually a self-sustaining profit center. And this is where, we're going to have to go to lunch now because we're about out of time. This is where I like to deal with one of the final big pushbacks in the industry when people, you know, see what we're doing and they say, but is there really enough land to feed the world this way? And you see these pictures of a Smithfield hog factory in North Carolina, you know, look at all this production in this little, you know, asphalt lagoon, you know, CAFO. What they don't show you are all the acreages that are required to handle the manure and all the acreages required to handle the corn and the soybeans and the grain that goes into it. There are square miles feeding every one of those structures. There comes the drone. Yeah, seriously. It's a drone with a camera on it.
They take it off.
What?
Somebody shoot it down.
Yeah, stop talking. It's lunchtime. Yeah, this is how they're going to get my attention. All right. So, no. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's taking pictures. We're on video. We're aerial pictures. Do we do that often? They? Who are they? They is Darren. He's standing right over there with a little control in his hand, waving at us. There's your CIA guy. He's the regrarians that have the exhibit booth up at the shed. And they use this for mapping land, water, you know, and laying out fields and all this. It's really cool that that's what it's used for. Okay. All right. You disturbing element, I'll tell you. So land-based. So what you're seeing, here's the point. What you're seeing here is all the land. Okay? There's nothing hidden. It's the real deal. And so the fact is, if we took all the national forest and the wilderness areas and the mesquite in Texas and the pinyon pine in Northern California and the Bureau of Land Management forests that are dying and because there's no disturbance, all the Appalachian, the Smoky Mountains, I mean, all the oak trees are dying. Go to Virginia Tech, talk to any forestry professor, all the oak trees are dying. We lost the chestnut, now we're losing the oak trees. And they all tell you why, because there's no fire and no disturbance. Folks, when Governor Tim Kaine was here with his entourage at the end of his governorship, he asked me, you know, he got this because he used to be with Nature Conservancy. He got the whole ecological, yeah, I get all this. What can I do? I said, well, schedule a meeting for me next week at the governor's mansion. We'll come down and ink out a contract for Polyface to run pigs in all the state parks and save them from death. Of course, he laughed, you know, because can you imagine environmentalists running pigs in, you know, but that's exactly what they need, is this periodic disturbance to eat the grubs and the caterpillars and the bugs that are infesting the trees and affecting the trees. There's no disturbance anymore. And so the pigs recreate that level of disturbance. So I think we've got to end the tour. I see the lunch line starting. Let's mosey down that way. But thanks for putting up with me.